त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। Sorry for being late. Was held up in something. My prarabdha is what it is. Even there is a corona, no visitors and no travel, but I get tired. Shiva. Backup model. Just a minute, I'll just switch the Wi-Fi shift करवाना पड़ेगा। तपश्रन्ये तमने शांता विद्वांसो भैक्षचर्यं चरन्तः शांता विद्वांसो भैक्षचर्यं हरेण ते विरजाः प्रयान्ति सूर्यद्वारेण ते विरजाः प्रयान्ति यत्रामृतस्य पुरुषो ह्यव्ययात्मा यत्रामृतस्य पुरुषो ह्यव्ययात्मा तपश्रद्धे ह्युपवसन्त्यरण्ये शान्ता विद्वांसो भैक्षचर्यं चरन्तः सूर्यद्वारेण ते विरजाः प्रयान्ति यत्रामृतस्य पुरुषो ह्यव्ययात्मा। The whole section. Now look at in the total perspective. We have taken some 30-40 classes, but where we began, see the continuity. The student asked, Kasminnu bhagavo vignate sarvamidam vignatam bhavati. What is it that, having known which, everything as well becomes known? The teacher said, Dve vidye veditavye. You have to learn two vidyas, parachaiva aparacha. And then enumerated tatra apara. And then gave just a vision let us sutra, as we can call it, about Paravidya. You know, Yathavarna Navi, Yatadadresham, Agrahyam, Aksharam, just 3-4 mantras, 3 mantras. And in this section, all these 11 months, up to 11th and further, the teacher is talking about Aparavidya. Now the question comes, similar question like Bhagavad Gita. In the 2nd chapter, Lord praised a wise person, Siddha Prajna, glorified him. And he said, Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati Yasyam Antakalepi Brahma Nirvana Mrachati. Even just as when you are nearing death, and if you gain this knowledge, you get moksha. Never ever Bhagavan talked about saying by karma you get moksha. Arjuna had specifically asked, how can I be free? And in between Bhagavan talked karma yoga. So here's a question, I want this. And you say the means for moksha is this knowledge, and you are praising karma and asking me to do karma. Similar situation is here. Student asks for moksha vidya. Yaya tad aksharavadigamyate para, that was said. And now he goes on elaborating aparavidya. Why does Bhagavan keep talking about it? You see, and in this section, the ultimate things are talked about. To give up something, please listen. We have to grow out of it. You cannot give up the things out of decision or out of instinct or out of emotions. There are some people, more so I may be wrong, but that's my personal experience, women. They go by instinct. They tell their husband, no, I feel like doing this. I feel like, no, you should not do this. There is no logic. So instinctually you decide to adopt or give up. Or as a reaction, whatever reason. No. You have nothing is to be given up. One has to grow out of it. And you will still continue having it. That is given up. Giving up can be physically giving up. And what Shastra is talking about, what Vedanta is talking about giving up is growing out of it. And physically you may have it also. And you may not have it also. That's what Vairagya is. While taking classes on Tattvabodha, I had told this. We all used to play certain games when we were children. The typical game was business, what we call Vyapar. Another game popular was Carom or something. So much involved in it that even if I lose, I cannot accept myself that I can lose this. In between, I gave up. And later on, I grew out of it. When did we give up? When we were told by parents, hey, you have grown up now. Concentrate on studies. Don't keep playing. So I keep denying myself, no, I will not. Like a typical Indian students of the 10th and the 12th grade, they give up everything. They give up sleep, they give up TV, they give up friends, they give up movies, everything. And they work for almost 1.5 years, 2 quarters years. Previous year, November, December onwards, school start taking classes and they start studying, and then next year, whole year and up to March, exams gets over, and then it bounces back like a suppressed spring. The fellow wakes up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, eats anytime, goes anywhere, and if mom, they may allow, parents will allow for a week or 10 or 15 days. But seeing this lifestyle like a roller coaster, those crazy rides, the fellow lives a crazy life. And they tell them, okay, now don't tell me anything, exams are over. That rasa was there, value was there. The same person goes for post-graduation to US and loves the subject and gets the job and all that, that is growing out of it. So many grandparents play cricket with the grandchildren. They watch TV once upon a time to watch the cricket match, which was a part of their existence once upon a time. That is called growing up. You may watch it, but unaffected. See, growing up is objectivity. Last time I had mentioned, I would like to repeat. We have to live our life so that we grow. And one should know what is real growth. And to grow, you have to have certain attitudes. Then only it is useful. Otherwise, they say in Hindi, the fish in the water, in the ocean, but still it is thirsty. Or the fellow who cooks for 1,000 people has to go hungry. That's what the whole world is doing. And that's what we had been doing through so many janmas. And that is our orientation. Understand the word orientation? I have orientation. For last 2 years, almost, it will be 2 years in this September, I have not been to any country outside, more so US, North America. There is a driver is on the left of the car. Here it is on the right. So I am used to sit on the left side because driver is always there. And whenever I go there, for first 2-3 days, I end up going from that door. And the host will tell, Swamiji, drive if you want to. I said, I don't want to drive. This is orientation. And after 3 months or 6 weeks or 4 weeks, when I come back India, same problem. My driver tells me, Swamiji, you want to drive? This is a key. This is called orientation. We have orientation for karma. Last mantra talked about charities. Ishta purtam manyamana varishta. Nothing wrong in doing seva. Nothing wrong in doing charity. But it should aid your growth. Which growth? Self-growth. Which growth? You can say subjective growth, internal growth. We aim at external growth in terms of money and power and position and connections and relations and blah, blah, blah. Even some people have value for this. I do so much of charity, I do so much of seva, etc. What is internal growth? Extent of objectivity I have. That is internal. To the extent I become introvert. Again, question is, what is introvertedness? These are all floating words, especially in this spiritual field. What is internal growth? That is objectivity. What is objectivity? 2 ways to measure. I enjoy myself. That is an objectivity towards myself. I accept myself as I am. I enjoy the world around me. Not grumbling and complaining, everybody is bad and everybody is out to kill me, out to take me on. That Swamiji used to say, the ninja attitude. Because Swamiji often used this word. There is a ninja attitude. No, it's okay. This is how it is. I have to deal with it. It can never ever be perfect. They have their limitations, they have their unconscious issues, they have their background issues. Just be objective and deal with it. And I too have my own limitations, deal with it. I enjoy being with myself. Self-acceptance, self-love. Always have a self-loathe, self-condemning all the time. So much of low image about myself, and therefore there is always a desire to achieve this thing and that thing and do this and that. No, I just am happy in being what I am. That's a growth. If one has that even the Ishtapurtam charities, certain Vedic karmas can be the means of growth provided you use it that way. Otherwise, it is a means for growth of an ego, very, very subtle ego. I am a great Data. There are stories in Upanishads. Janusruti. The birds used to talk about this fellow's charity. Such a great donor, giver. And then they said, did you know that thing which knowing which everything becomes known? No. The point is, no amount of achievement can give a permanent sense of fullness, permanent sense of contentment, unless you have a vision of the Shastra. Modern life example is going to America, Canada, Australia. I'll make my life. I'll earn so much. In India, you earn for 1 crore or 2 crore. There I will get a job of 10 crores rupees. I'll have this car, this house. So what? Nothing. If you are, listen this, if you are incomplete, no addition, multiplication can make you complete. Cannot take you to infinity. If you are finite, any amount of summations or multiplication keep you finite. And if you are Purnaha, no amount of subtraction can make you less. There is a paradigm shift in self-identity. The existing self-identity is of being incomplete, being limited, being wanting, being dissatisfied, being discontent, always complaining and grumbling fellow. No amount of external change will make you that. As Pujya Swamiji often used to give this point to ponder. And it struck me way back in 80s when he said in one of the lectures, was there a single day in your life? I literally analyzed that time. All my life I saw whatever was there. I said, yeah, it is so true. Whole life, is there a single day when you found 24 hours when you found I am complete? And whole life was spent in restructuring my life and relations and possessions and positions and all kinds of things, hoping for feeling happy. Did you ever feel for 24 hours that I am happy? I am on the top of the world. That feeling may be there momentarily. Even it may be a reflected glory. Indian team wins, or my favorite football club won the game, and I am on the top of the world. My favorite player made the goals, and I am happy. Not 24 hours. The fellow is enjoying himself, and she comes and tells, now when are you going to switch off the TV? That's it. I need you. That's over. Our child comes in. No amount of external restructuring can make me complete. To discover that and grow out of this urge to keep on restructuring, that is the purpose of this discussion. Growing, self-growth. And that relative growth is the foundation for absolute growth. That absolute growth, that I am complete in spite of so-called limitations. I am happy in spite of so-called dukkham. The limitation doesn't belong to me. Unhappiness doesn't belong to me. It is there, so let it be there. I don't care. I deal with it. And exactly like often quoted example, the actor may have a role which may be pathetic role. He may feel sorry or painful, but that's okay. I have to play this role. And he plays it. The life becomes like that. That becomes ultimate growth. To own up that growth, this is the foundation, and for that, these are all discussions. So far, Shruti talked about various karmas. Vedokta karma and smarta karma. Ishta purtam manyamana varishtam, etc. Now here in this verse, it adds to some, these are all physical karmas. There are mental karmas also, called as upasana. Last time I mentioned, there is no synonym for the word upasana. Meditation is not upasana. Especially more so what goes around in the modern world. Upa samipe asana. Saguna brahma vishayaka manasa vyaparaha vijati vritti rahitaha sajati vritti pravaha rupaha saguna brahma vishayaka manasa vyaparaha. Upasana involves Ishvara. Meditation may or may not involve. More so the modern meditations. Upasana means vritti pravaha, the flow of the thought, centered on Ishvara, devoid of other distractions. There are so many types of upasanas talked about in our Shastra, and I have discussed this point while I taught the previous text, Upadesha Saram. Their manasa karma, kaya vang manah karyamuttamam pujanam japaschintanam krama. There we have discussed that. I will not get into that. I have taken 3 lectures on it. To understand the ways of thinking, to be master of one's own mind, upasana is necessary. Hindu culture gives upasana right from childhood. Every Hindu has to have this Gayatri mantra, Yagnopavitam. And Yagnopavitam means doing Gayatri Japa daily thrice in a day in a traditional society. When you do japa, this is a standard question I face. Whenever there are question answer session in any camp for 7-8 days camp, they have a little morning meditation or some japa. They say, Swamiji, I can't get concentration. How to develop concentration? Swamiji, my mind is wandering. Swamiji, my mind is thinking so many unwanted things. Then I ask him, what do you mean by unwanted? I can't tell Swamiji all those thoughts. A lady fellow has a guilt. Why did I marry? And now he adds one more guilt. I think bad. I do that. Whole question is wrong. Mind is wandering, not that it is wandering when you do japa. In fact, it is wandering throughout the day. Only thing is there you discover it is wandering. Like a child, when you get the result to a board and his annual exam result, then you know, hey, he is not studying. The child is wandering all along. But that you discover now, the fellow has been doing for the whole year. We never introspect our ways of thinking. We never look at the pattern. Just think, sometimes you have a tension, sometimes you get stressed, sometimes you get angry. There is a pattern. Sometimes you pick up some quarrel with the spouse or the family. There is a pattern. That is a weak link of your mind, your psyche. You have to make it strong, process it out. Sometimes you get excited. Simple thing. Some people are so some of them stem from insecurity also. While going to airport, they be careful, let us go, let us go, let us go, we should reach early. I have one Swami, one of the Acharyas, a good friend of mine. I avoid traveling with him and he loves traveling with me. Even when we have to pick up a flight from Ahmedabad, it's a small, relative, not like New York and you live in Jersey and go to Newark or something. So it takes 25-30 minutes and go 1 hour early. You already have a boarding pass. Maximum 1 hour early. But that is written nowadays. You should report, counter will close 1.5 hours early. I said, we have only carry-on luggage. Why you go early? Just reach there 45 minutes, walk in. It's a small airport. No, we will miss. He gets tensed. And usually, I am just the opposite. I always go last. And even if I reach airport early, I sit in a lounge and make sure that final call comes, then only I go. And that's how you take it easy. It's so tense. It's a way of thinking, way of working. Anxiety creation. Some people want things in order. Do it now, do it now, do it now. You have anxiety and you are throwing anxiety on others and creating anxiety. Whole atmosphere is full of anxiety and stress. Why? It's okay. What's a big deal? Gujarati में आप टूटी पड़ी तो पढ़वा दो भाई हम आप लोग करवाना कृष्ण भगवान वया गया है तो हाचो से never look at themselves. These are the areas we have to deal. And there's a growth, part of the growth. When you do japa, you discover your ways of thinking. You discover the vulnerable situations, the weak links, and thereby make it strong. And the beauty of this culture, there is whole lifestyle committed to this upasana. That is being talked about here. Tapashraddhe ye yupavasantyaranye shanta vidvamsau bhikshacharyam charantah. See, upavasanti aranye, they live in forest. Okay? You have not to take it literally. These are all fantasies that I'll go to forest and go to Himalayas and go to have some kutia and farmhouse and live. I have often told this. You don't require anything to create samsara. You don't require anyone else to create noise. Your mind is enough. External quietude not necessarily guarantees internal silence. It may aid, it may facilitate, provided there is some basic thing available. The core person has to be relatively free from anxiety and stress and unnecessary hurry and all the time running, so much of rajas. Otherwise, there also they will start something else. Go Seva, or Swamiji would say Chavanprash, new activity. Went to foreign ashram and then sells Himalayan Chavanprash. As though he's Himalayan. It is like that advertisement, you know. Somebody cut a joke on Ramdev. I don't know how far it is true. He brought some salt, Himalayan salt. Original salt, 25,000 saal purana. The salt is 25,000-year-old mountain. We are taking the salt from that. And in the bottom, it was written, best use the 6 months of the production. 6 महीने में उपयोग कर लेना. And you are selling 25,000 years old salt. This is how the human mind is. Anyway, and what is that? So, it is not necessary that you go to forest where the wildlife is there, full of trees and things like that. No, it's a figurative usage. Forest means relatively secluded place. Relatively the place with a less of external stimulus. Less possibility of getting disturbed. Like this, again, same example of students who are in board, 10th and 12th board. The whole family takes a vow not to watch the TV for 1 year. They pack up the TV and put it on somewhere else. That is a vanam. Where external stimuli are not there to trigger those vulnerable ways of thinking. To trigger that rajo guna, where you get involved into activity. I want to do that, I want to do that. No, you are less triggered. The external situation where it facilitates you to learn to relax. You learn to fall back on yourself. That is called forest. Here, the living in a forest, but then there are 2 words in it, extra. Bhikshacharyam charanta. Bhikshacharya. See, charya, suffix. And from that, there is a name like brahmacharya. There is a word brahmachari. Dharmacharya. There is a word dharmachari. Bhikshacharyam, there is bhikshachari. Chari is a suffix implying a lifestyle committed to that. Brahmachari, a person committed, living a committed lifestyle to pursuit of Brahma. And there is abstract noun, Brahmacharyam charantaha, living a lifestyle which is totally committed to pursuit of Brahma. Dharmacharyam charantaha, they are living a life which is totally committed to Dharma. Here, Bhaikshacharya charantaha, living a life of Bhiksha, commitment to Bhiksha life. Like many other words which do not have any synonym in English, like Upasana, there is no synonym, meditation. It is sometimes MADI, meditation. It is not MEDI. And some people sit for meditation and they come out of MADI. Because while sitting, the fellow is brooding over. Yesterday he said like this, they did like this. And moment they come out, they shout. I remember I had one cousin who, whenever he was very particular about doing japa, Gayatri japa. So he sits the japa and the children and we are talking. He is older to me, so we are playing and all that. The lady of the home will tell, now be quiet now. He is going to finish his japa. Whenever he came out of japa, usually he used to shout or he used to take a pen and note what are the pending jobs to be done. All that comes into meditation only. What are the phone calls to be answered? What are the things to be done? What are the things not to be done? Whom to answer? Blah, blah, blah. Whole office comes in. Or all complaint comes out, and that is called getting mad. In America, he got mad, means got angry. That's the American usage. If you tell in India he got mad, then he will get mad, American mad. In India, MAD, mad means pagal hai. Mental problems, psychological problems. In American jargon, mad means angry. So he went for meditation. He came out of meditation. That's what. So, similarly, Bhiksha doesn't have any synonym. Okay? This is the beauty or richness of this culture. The whole society has this value, even today. Even today, I tell you. That is, with this metro lifestyle, they may be a little skeptical, but the value is there. Bhiksha, they translate living on alms. That is not begging. Bhiksha is a right of the person. And to offer Bhiksha is a duty of the other person. And the receiver is not obliged. Giver is obliged that somebody took Bhiksha. That's the attitude we have, even today. 3 ashramas were entitled to live on Bhiksha. Brahmachari, Vanaprasthi, and Sannyasi. Grahasthi is the one who was supposed to give Bhiksha. Not supposed to, they love to give. Even today when sannyasi comes for food, they feel blessed. Oh, Swamiji, you came to us for Bhiksha. A brahmachari, they see pathshalas. They would love to give to these batuls, these all brahmacharis, to give Bhiksha. Society had this value, a person who is committed to knowledge is entitled for Bhiksha. Even the kings respected. The famous Raghukula story. Bharatantu, Shishya, the whole Raghu Vamsha Ram, that Kalidas wrote Raghu Vamsha. The king Raghu what a great the king may be, the original kulam is Ikshvaku kulam. While introducing Rama, Naradji tells, Ikshvaku kula prabho Ramo nameti Vishnuta. The kula got a new name, Raghukulam. He performed Vishwajit Yajna and that brahmachari came to him. He washes his feet and Padhyam Argyam and says, what can I do for you? Brahmachari saw that he had already given up everything. He had nothing. As a part of the Vishwajit Yajna, you have to give everything into charity. He said, I am finished. I don't want anything now. He said, no, when you had come to me, I have to give and tell me what for did you come? After certain persuasion, he said, I am finishing my study and I wanted to give Dakshina to my Guru. And so I came to take Dakshina, something from you so that I can give you from Guru. And then he said, why didn't you tell me? He said, I saw there is nothing left. You have given up everything. He said, wait here. I will get from Indra. And the fellow fought and got those gold from heaven and said, take it all. So brahmachari who is committed to lifestyle of pursuit of knowledge only, 24/7 and Guru Sushrusha is entitled. Another one is Vanaprasthi, one who is committed to self-growth and withdrawal, self-withdrawal as a preparation for knowledge. Is also entitled. Even today, anybody wearing white clothes, even husband wife, they go for yatra, people will feel. In the Kumbh Mela, there is a special place. Is a new refined form of Vanaprastha. They come, build their hut, and stay there and keep doing upasana. Vanaprasthi is a one, tapashraddhe upavasanti aranye vaikshacharyam charanta. Tapashraddhe means only thing to do is whatever is my Vaidika karma, mandatory daily duties that I perform. Technically called as ashrama vihita karma. Since I am married, I am a grahasthi, I am supposed to do certain karmas. Once I take to sannyasa, I have no karma. But when a grahastha, I am supposed to do, so I perform those karmas. Agnihotradi. And what? In a grahastha also does that. But for the other time, after finishing this, grahastha has social life and life to pursue and earn money. No social life, no earning, only shraddhe. Means shraddhaya krutam upasana. Upasana is called shraddha and nitya karma is called tapas. If a life of duty is a life of tapas, what kind of tapas? See, any tapas you do, you develop a will, a strength to say no to yourself and to push yourself. This has to be done. When you live a life of duty, you don't go by fancies. You learn to manage your fancies. You learn to manage your likes and dislikes. That is tapas. That is a strength. One may win the whole world. Even in traditional jargon, you can win 3 worlds. But you are the weakest if you cannot say no to yourself. if you have not mastered your fancies. And the classic example is our Ravana. He was Trilokadhipati. His son had conquered Indra, such a powerful person, but he could not say no to himself when it came to Sita. Everybody cautioned him. Each and every person advised him to give up. No, that is immaturity. That is lack of self-growth. That is childish. Child cannot accept no. Even if the situation is unfavorable, I want it. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say these modern motivational speakers talk like this. If you decide, you must pursue and get it. Somewhere you should know this is a wrong investment. Put so much effort for this goal, change the goal. You should be ready to change. That's a wisdom when not to pursue, you should understand. Not become stubborn. The child is stubborn, makes all kinds of tantrums because Dad, you promised me to take to vacation. Mom, you promised me to buy this. I want it. Incapacity to say no to myself is absence of growth. When you live a life of duty, you learn to say no to yourself, and that is a growth. You learn to say yes to yourself even when the mind says no. And that is a real definition of freedom. Freedom doesn't lie in doing the things which I feel like doing and not doing the things which I don't feel like doing. The real strength, real freedom is I do the things even if I don't feel like doing, if I have to do. And I don't do the things even if I feel like doing when it is improper. Otherwise it is Duryodhana. He says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrutti, janami adharmam nachame nivrutti. I know what should I be doing, but I don't feel like doing and I can't do that. I know what should I not be doing, but I can't stop myself. That is a total lack of growth. Internal growth lies this, and when it comes to you, when you live a life of dharma, life of duty, life of contribution, contributory lifestyle, life of giving, not going by my fancies, going by what is proper and not going by what is improper. That is tapas. That is the ultimate tapas. Even physical tapas also helps you. Simple fasting, not taking food for one time. You feel like eating, you say, no, Dhamma. But that becomes growth, understand? I told in last class and in the beginning also I told, one should know whatever I do, it should be for self-growth. Then it is done with an attitude, with believing in Bhagavan. You live in the awareness of Ishvara and do fasting, it is one thing. And to do diet is another thing. One can do dieting. That doesn't aid the growth. On the contrary, it stops the growth of Madhya Pradesh. You know, a country has a one state called Madhya Pradesh. The middle part, middle section, middle area is called Madhya Pradesh. So that Madhya Pradesh growth takes place. And you want to stop that growth, therefore you do diet. Hey, you have to be clear about the goal. That karmas, if done for Ishvara, then only it helps it to grow and then only it is tapas. Otherwise, it is for some small gains here and there, you do it. Like nowadays, many people come, because of this corona. And the city is fairly advanced near my ashram now. Some of you know this. There is a tar road and all good thing available. People it has become a road for morning walkers and cycling fellows. And some of them formerly no, but they didn't come. But nowadays, every day, at least half a dozen people are coming to do darshanam of Lord Bhagavan in Bermuda. Okay. And from the face you can make out. I sometimes doubt whether the fellow has done the brush or not. And they say, मैं भगवान के दर्शन करने रोज जाता हूँ. I go to do darshan of Bhagavan daily. You are not going for darshan. You are going for you are cycling or jogging or walking. Purpose has to be clear. Anyway, tapashraddhe. Shraddha is upasana, and upasana is always done with shraddha. Committed to the lifestyle of doing duties, and other time I keep doing only upasana. Upavasanti aranya, meaning thereby keeping my requirements bare minimum. Whatever is required for my survival, that alone I keep it. And with that intention I keep it. That is called aranya. Living in aranya. Minimum requirements. Nothing more. That way some of you should have seen, I wish, Pujya Swamiji's life. Nothing you will find in his kutia. So many things keep coming, fruits and these, keeps on passing on. What I require is kept here, nothing else. That is called aranyam, means living a life of vanaprasthi. It is called as vani also, brahmachari, grihastha, vani, sannyasi. So living a lifestyle of vanaprastha, therefore, vaikshacharyam charanta. Totally surrendered to upasana, various upasanas. And in other words, minimum role playing. No more roles, no more connections. Life of self-withdrawal. Life of, as I said, pursuing various upasanas and getting certain degree of concentration and mastery over the mind by understanding its ways of thinking, understanding the weak links of the mind and dealing with it and growing out of those unconscious issues. People sometimes get so angry for no reason. All unconscious problems have to be dealt with it. Unnecessary small things become so big, they blow the things out of proportion and shout at the family members. Nothing is available, sparing partner is available. Who was only partner, now sparing partner. Shout at the small thing, all unconscious issues. હું આપ ફાઈટું છે ભાઈ શાંતિ રાખો પાટું તમે રોકી ન શકવાના hyper all the time. Sometimes bipolar people, they in modern days they can't accept that I am bipolar. You can't tell them. It may be that small instruction they keep repeating. 10 times they keep telling, no. Small thing they keep shouting. You have to deal, and therefore there is a word shanta. Tapashraddhe upavasantyaranye shanta vidvamsaha bhaikshcharyam charanta. Shanta means mind is resolved to some extent. A person is together to some extent. There is an inner space for things to go wrong. There is inner space to accept certain disorder. People are so fastidious about the order and the system and perfection. These perfectionist fellows create lots of problems for others. There is no space to accept imperfection. There is no space to accept disorder. There is no space. If something goes wrong or haywire, what's a big deal about it? Shanta, relatively resolved, relatively quiet mind, and a vanaprastha. Retired from social engagements. I'm not, though I'm using the word retired, I'm not talking about modern retired fellows. In Gujarati, otla bhange betha betha. Bagicana bhangra bhange. They get together and do all. They update their website grampanchayat.com. They upload the website grampanchayat.com. We call it not panchayat. Why are they talking ill of others and making a story and whiling away the time? Whiling away the time. That's not retired. Using the time for my self-growth, that is retirement. There was some compulsion in terms of social engagements and I withdraw from them. I totally commit myself for self-growth. That is the retired. Shanta Vidvamsaha. Vidvamsa here is Saguna Upasaka. When you live like this, that means karma and upasana together. What happens to them after death? He says, Surya Dvarena de Viraja Prayanti Yatra Vrutasya Purusho Hyabhyatma. Surya Dvarena, there is a path, solar path. Uttarayan Marga, what is popularly known as. Through solar path, they go. Where do they go? Yatra Amrutaha Avyayatma Purushaha. Amrutaha means immortal. The immortal Avyatma, imperishable Purusha. Nivasanti, you have to add. Where this Purusha lives, with that which Purusha? Immortal and imperishable. That means Hiranyagarbha. Or known word I use as Brahmaji. Where Brahmaji lives. Which is the Loka? Where there is Brahman. They go to Brahmaloka. What they become? Virajaha Santaha Praya. Rajaha means blemish. Rajaha means impurity. Rajaha means dirt. Doing that, having removed all this through upasanas, the bhakti upasana phalam they got it, and therefore they go to Brahmaloka. That is the ultimate phalam, ultimate restructuring of the life, you get it. And I have told you what is lokas. Lokyate anubhuyate iti loka, different fields of experiences, where the object of experience are also subtler and powerful to give you happiness. The capacity to enjoy is also enhanced. You have that relative body to enjoy that. You have that relative mind to enjoy that. And infrastructure also is nice. It is like, the people here in India, they take tea and they are used to usually very strong tea. And Indians, after this corona, everybody takes the ginger in the tea and the mint and green leaves and everything is added. It is called Gujarati masala chai. And then some of them add a lot of tea leaves and then it boils them. It becomes dark brown. Very strong tea. And they say in Kathiawadi, Sotli khuto thai jai. Sotli khuto thai jai meaning if you have a choti, it becomes automatically tight. It is so strong tea they take. And that poor fellow is taken to 7-star hotel and they give dip tea. Ye kya chai piya? Was that a tea? He doesn't get any kick out of it. I still remember I came here in 80s, early 80s. I came to Rajkot, and then in Ahmedabad they had opened one special restaurant called Vishala. It is still there. They used to serve a typical Saurashtra food, rotla and butter and curry and khichdi and all that. And I was excited that my students, we had gone there and we got late. I said, okay, we'll eat there in that hotel. We ate. They said, hey, kya khana? Kuch nahi. Chili was not strong. Kadhi was not sour. Butter was not good. Rotla, ghee was not good. We didn't enjoy at all. It was, I thought it's a treat. But they didn't feel like enjoying. મરસું એવું જોઈએ કે આંખમાં પાણી આવવા જોઈએ કે મરસું એવું છે. They said, do you want a chili which will water your eyes? Then only it's a chili. Otherwise, what chili they gave us? It was like capsicum. It is useless. Anyway, you have that necessary sense organs in the mind, the ambience. The 5-star hotel gives a different ambience. And the services and the product. The tea may cost 700 rupees, whereas outside it may be 20 rupees. But there is a different quality, different way of serving, different way of treating you. The ultimate of all this, nothing can be improved, is Brahmaloka. Earlier we said, yehi di suvarcha sayaha vahanti. They are welcome. When you go there, car parks, suddenly somebody runs and salutes, sir, welcome, sir, good morning, sir. They will tell all this. Then by the time you enter, welcome, sir, can I help you, sir? Somebody will open the door. This salute means 50 rupees, 100 rupees. Another opening the door, 100 rupees. And the lobby guide, where is the lobby? Is 100 rupees. You go there, somebody pulls the chair and puts the chair back, 100 rupees. It go ahead on this. This is called, that makes it 800 rupees. You are the most important. You see, this, the human problem feels so low, feels so incomplete, feels so insufficient. Anywhere, if a sense of exclusivity is created, he is ready to pay money. I should feel I am exclusive. Airlines do that. Blue card, silver card, golden card, platinum card. I am exclusive. Even people tell me this debit card. Swamiji, I am in the debit card. One fellow had told me, limit, I have this much, limitless I can withdraw with this debit card. International, so much something he was telling. I didn't hear at all. But he was saying that I am exclusive. And I said, it must be charged. Yeah, they charge some $1,500 or something. I don't know. My office pays. Exclusive. Because of the inner lack. Anyway, coming back to this, they go to Brahmaloka. That's the ultimate. By the way, having gone there, there is no moksha. When Brahmaloka comes to end, you come back to samsara. Even in Brahmaloka, there is every day morning Brahmaji takes class. And you have to attend the class. You have to study Upanishad. And only when you have Brahmakara Vritti, then you become Mukta. Why wait for Brahmaji? Better listen from Paramatma. Available here. Online available. It is called Dravida Pranayama. You do this way and put the hand like this and do Pranayama. You all upasanas you do, all mantra japa you do, all this you do, and then there is the hope to go there. And that too, here you have live exclusive. Some of you can sit, relax, and are listening with your spouse, and some of them are listening in armchair, all that luxury you have. Better listen and study Upanishad, be regular. Okay? Namaste. Don't wait for Brahmaloka. Om पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि